We have to prepare for a more angry world, and I see the need for action. I see the need for a great reset.
Are you kidding me? I've never heard someone say we needed a reset.
Taiwan is the epicenter of the AI revolution. This is where the chips come, packaging comes. This is where the systems are made. This is where AI supercomputers were created. The number of partners we work with here in Taiwan, incredible.
It comes amid this concern that the underwater cables that provide Taiwan with its internet are vulnerable.
Why did the Obamas get behind this film? The film, I won't be able to tell you that, but I can tell you what the film is about. It's about an apocalyptic scenario after the grid fails and there's a grid down crisis because of cyber attacks. The release of a video game, which also has scripts like movies do, and this Black Ops 2, major prominent video game, the script writers for it were consulting with that the Wall Street Journal calls the premier futurist in the national security space. So the top Pentagon futurist was consulted for the script on this video game. And what is the script for the video game? Well, the object of the game is to prevent a cyber attack. In the context of a new Cold War with China.
If we all going on some land, make our own little Dark Waters 9 community, then so be it. We'll be thriving there, to say the least. I can see it now. We'll have an airship in like a year. We'll have an airship in like a year, y'all. They gave us a community. We'll have an airship. We'll be conducting ether out the ionosphere. Man. They better stop playing with us. Welcome back. On today's video, we're going to be diving into the most mysterious and strange TikToks nobody can explain. Hit that like and subscribe button and let's dive in. Did they catch a possible cryptid or skinwalker on camera? Let's take a closer look.
It seems to be travelling on all fours, low to the ground, with what looks like a light emanating directly from its head. The movement is fluid but unnatural. It doesn't look like a dog or any animal you'd expect to see crossing a suburban street at night. The uploader herself seemed genuinely unsettled by what her camera captured, and no clear explanation has been confirmed.
It's almost like the headlight popped out of nowhere, because you didn't see it at first when it was walking like a man. But as soon as he aims at the ground, it's almost like he's wearing like a headlamp. How strange. And for someone to be acting like this at night, that is even stranger.
In Russia, there's a meeting of like all these elites and movie producers.
Oh, yes.
And the lights go out temporarily.
And their eyes
are glowing.
Ooh. Imagine the lights going out in the 80s and just like everyone's eyes are gone.
Yeah, the band left because I saw like all these glowing eyes, and it wasn't everyone. It was only like 6 or 7 in the room.
And they were doing a show for like the elites or something, weren't they?
Yeah. In Russia, there's.
Are you kidding me? Humans' eyes aren't supposed to glow like that. What type of nocturnal draconian creatures they got going on in Russia? Uh-oh, is this possible sighting of a skinwalker? Did they actually catch a skinwalker on footage? Let's take a closer look, gang. Had to be a deer, right? It looks like a deer, but that deer is not afraid of them. It's not running. Normally when you see a deer in the woods, it starts taking off when you get that close, but it's kind of like looking at them crazy. I don't know, guys. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Did you know in Highland Park has an underground pedestrian tunnels?
Do y'all know about these tunnels in Detroit? These ones are on the corner of 2nd and Cortland in Highland Park. These tunnels date back to the 1920s, and apparently these tunnels were created during the automobile boom, and they were used so that the children could cross the street safely. This one's blocked off. I want to fly my drone down here, but I don't want it to get lost. I want to go down there. If somebody wants to go down there with me, let me know. We can go together. Do y'all know about these tunnels in Detroit?
That sounds like a cool little side mission, but it's a little small space though. I'll be worried about spiders and whatever type of creatures is in there. Maybe them skinwalkers crawling in there at night taking refuge.
I want to talk to you about a thing called scotopic vision. Scotopic vision is also known as dark adaptive vision. Dark adaptive vision happens to everybody in about 5 minutes, and red, the color red, doesn't ruin it. Any other color ruins it. Okay, so if you're walking in the night with your homies and you want to make sure you can see as much as you can around yourselves, a great option would be to make sure that your lights are red if at all possible. Yes, sir. Make sense? Yes. I want to talk to you about a thing called scotopic vision.
Scotopic vision. Hold on, guys. I got to get my scotopic vision on. It's nighttime. You learn a cool new word every day on this show, don't you? Scotopic vision. This is 144 hertz. Fibonacci frequency. A sound for manifestation, nature's sacred geometry. Did you feel that? That woke me up a little bit. That did a little something, didn't it? Drop it in the comments below. That did a little something. Your chakra network is off. You got to get it aligned.
Have you guys ever wondered what those interdimensional beings looked like that those people in World War II saw through those Dicenian glasses? I've always been super curious, and these photos are a representation of what those people saw. You can see that they're eerily similar to something, but yet so far away from anything that we can comprehend. The way that these images were produced is through something called energy vision. Supposedly, this energy vision captures photos of entities in different dimensions. Listen to this.
In the vast and often mysterious world of scientific research, few discoveries capture the imagination as profoundly as the concept of entities that exist outside of our realm. Dr. Daniel Nemes, a pioneering scientist and researcher, stands at the forefront of this intriguing field. Nemes is renowned for his creation of an innovative energy device known as energy vision, which, according to his claims, can photograph these mysterious entities. Dr. Daniel Nemes is a scientist with a background in quantum physics and energy research. Nemes devoted his career to exploring the intersections of energy, matter, and dimensions beyond our conventional understanding. He soon became fascinated by theories of parallel dimensions and alternate realities. Oddly enough, despite publishing these findings, there is a scarcity of information available on him, and the majority of his work has been wiped from the internet. As a result, some have suggested that shortly after sharing these discoveries, he vanished. Nemes' interest in this research was partly inspired by the pioneering work of theoretical physicists who posited the existence of multiple dimensions beyond the familiar three-dimensional space.
What is this then? What is it supposed to be? Could this be a real image of a draconian, reptilian? Look at the black eyes.
Driven by curiosity and a desire to push the boundaries of human knowledge, Nemes began experimenting with novel energy devices aimed at detecting and interacting with these unseen realms. Energy vision, the groundbreaking device developed by Daniel Nemes, represents the culmination of years of research and experimentation. The device combines principles from quantum mechanics, electromagnetism, and advanced imaging technology to purportedly capture images of entities existing in dimensions parallel to our own. Energy vision consists of a sophisticated array of sensors and emitters that generate and detect specific frequencies of electromagnetic energy. These frequencies are theorized to resonate with the energy signatures of these beings, making them visible to the device's sensors. The captured data is then processed by advanced algorithms to produce visual images, which are displayed on a high-resolution screen. The device operates by emitting a controlled burst of energy into a defined area and then scanning the area for any anomalies in the energy field. According to Nemes, these mysterious beings interact with these energy fields in ways that are detectable by energy vision's sensors. The resulting images reveal shapes and forms that do not correspond to any known physical entities, suggesting the presence of beings from other dimensions. If the device's capabilities are validated, the implications for science and our understanding of the universe would be profound. The ability to photograph these entities would provide tangible evidence for the existence of parallel dimensions, supporting theories that have long been speculative. This breakthrough could revolutionize fields such as physics, cosmology, and even interact with these energy fields in ways that are detectable by energy.
I always thought they used CERN or something to like make the veil kind of like thinner so they will be able to see these type of dimensional beings. Are they demons starting to manifest? I want to hear your thoughts in the comments below. What is going on with these interdimensional beings? Like this one almost looks like an alien, like the traditional Greys.
They are human women as part of families during the day, but at night they transform themselves in a variety of ways to go about their evil deeds. A Tlahuelpuchi is born and not made. Once you are born a Tlahuelpuchi, you remain that way, and it has been said that it is a curse that neither God nor the devil can erase. They are human women as...
Oh my goodness, what was that? Golem mixed with Pocahontas? It's like a Golem / Pocahontas hybrid. What on earth is going on? Lord, that has to be a grouper, right? A giant grouper. It's almost as big as this dude he's feeding. You gotta be careful, buddy. That thing looks like it's bigger than you. Unbelievable. Almost like you can jump in the water and give it a hug. Or ride it. Don't do that. Or now, get your Aquaman on.
Plug your eardrums. You can't stop the sound. A lot of the targets are tricked into believing evil aliens have abducted their brain. Plug your eardrums. You can't stop the sound. A lot of the targets are tricked into believing evil aliens have abducted their brains. Demons.
They're tricked.
Yes.
How are they tricked?
They're told.
By who?
By the voices. A lot of these, I think, that you hear about on the news. They hear voices.
We've learned that Cruz told the BSO detective that he heard a demon in his head.
And police now say he also heard voices.
Who heard voices in his head.
The scripts, they're called. And they're meant to confuse, the very derogatory. That's just typical breakdown. And why would you want to break down the ego of that person? To rebuild it. So this gets into creating Manchurian candidates.
Police have released video made by the man who at Florida State University.
In Project Soulcatch, I referred to a Myron May, right. As a psychobomb. They didn't care who the target was. They were just trying to make him explode and do something bad. He was a lawyer trained there. His reasoning why he was he needed news publicity to make sure people understood this was real. And he left the video testimony.
As sick as this may sound, I've even had stalkers follow me into church.
He believed government stalkers were harassing him and using a direct energy weapon to hurt him.
Gang stalking. We just covered that. If you didn't see my video on gang stalking, watch the one before this.
But he gave out 7 packages in the mail, and the FBI intercepted them all.
What were in these packages?
Just information. Just information.
If these people do explode and do something bad like this, there's absolutely no way to prove that there has been any sort of manipulation to the brain. In this guy's case, he talked about it. I mean, obviously he talked, but
it was covered up.
The way they write the article, he sounds like a crazy person.
Yeah, you can't plug your eardrums. You can't stop the sound.
If I plug my eardrums, the voices just get louder.
You asked, so it's happening. God's Eye View, open sourced. This thing feels like a spy satellite simulator. Click on absolutely everything and you can track it. Turn on FLIR mode and suddenly you're wondering, holy crap, is this? You asked, so it's happening. God's Eye View, open sourced. This thing feels like a spy satellite simulator. Click on absolutely everything and you can track it. Turn on FLIR mode and suddenly you're wondering, holy crap, is this real? The thing is, the aesthetics are obviously having a little bit of fun. Make it feel like you're in a spy thriller movie, but the data underpinning it is actually real. So what you're looking at is the real-time location of vessels, planes, satellites, and so much more. Let's get into it. You asked, so it's happening.
No way they gave this access to the general public. That is insane. I didn't hit like that pine cone one we listened to earlier, but I get it. But that definitely didn't hit like that last one we listened to. Speaking about scotopic vision, what's going on with Gary, Indiana? Is there any update?
We just ain't got no help over here.
All right, this one was 18 hours ago, so it looks like, I believe some people should be getting most of their power today, according to the research we were doing. They said the 25th. Today's the 25th, so check in. Let me know in the comments below. If you're in that area or you know anything, let us know.
We just ain't got no help over here. We ain't seen no city officials out here. You know, we need more than just people out here shaking hands and cutting out. There's people in the house, stuck in the house that haven't eaten for days. This side gets resources when it comes to property, when everybody wants the property over here. But when it comes to help, we don't get any help over here. I don't see any government resources being spent in our neighborhood. We got a lot of elderly out here. We're able to fully function, but we got jobs. We can't physically continue this for the next month or so, or however long the lights are off. We need people physically checking on these elderly people that are in their homes, that can't get out, they're sitting in the hot air every day.
Top comment says, nobody thought Project 2025 was real. What is Project 2025? Let's punch it in. One of you guys said something extremely smart.
We just ain't got no help over here. We ain't seen no city officials out here. You know,
one of you guys was like, Chuck, man, they might be trying to make one of them 15-minute smart cities in Gary, Indiana. When you said that, I was like, man, you might have a point. Hooking up the smart cities directly to them data centers, man. We seen the long tour of them building that IBM station that looked like them damn camps. You know, those didn't look like no damn data centers within that building. It looked like they had some like 20 huge human tents going on. I don't know, but it was crazy. If you didn't see that video, I highly suggest you watch it. I put everything I had into those videos. One was an hour long, wasn't it? What's a record for Dark Waters 9? What was we talking about? Oh, yeah. Project 2025. What is it?
Back in 1997, a group of futurists funded by a...
Quick disclaimer, we're reacting to the recent articles, public reports, and videos about the power grid, data centers, and related concerns. We are not claiming that any specific blackout or event is guaranteed to happen. Some materials include expert opinions, worst-case scenarios, and unverified claims, which we'll discuss as such. Please review the original sources and draw your own conclusions.
Back Back in 1997, a group of futurists funded by a Washington, D.C. think tank and several three-letter government agencies wrote a book about what the world might look like in the future. And when you look at what they predicted back then, it's disturbingly accurate.
Now, this is the title of the book, 2025, Scenarios of U.S. and Global Society Reshaped, there's that re again, by Science and Technology. You know what's so fascinating about this? It was published 27 years ago in the year 1997, and it was funded, well funded, by a Washington, D.C. think tank and three-letter government agencies. But here's the thing, 1997, 27 years ago, and they write a book about a 502-page book about what the world's going to be.
A 500-page book filled with dozens of predictions.
And I've seen clips of that video before, but this looks like a deep analysis, guys. Get you something to drink and lock in. I believe we're about to go deep on this one.
According to some estimates, nearly 90% of them seem to match what eventually happened. And the ones that haven't happened yet may be closer than we think. Because the remaining predictions go into things like World War III, mass starvation, global crisis, and much more. But instead of me going through the list, let's hear this gentleman explain it himself. Because this is actually how I first became aware of it while watching one of his videos.
Okay, you ready for the list? Fast mutating, genetically developed, smart IDs, 1997. And this is, you can do the word search and research yourself. They predicted not 2025, but by 2020 that people would be working from home virtually. Oh, come on. Listen, that's World War III, of course. Nuclear devices causing widespread contamination. Nanotech devices. This stuff was never even heard of. Digital currency. Programs run by organizations like the World Health Organization for a global has yet to emerge. First printing, February 1997.
The book is real. You can find it, you can read it, and these are not some far-fetched interpretations. Now, I would like to believe they're not right about everything, but we'll see. What we're going to focus on instead are the most important predictions that haven't happened yet, because we already know what took place. What's far more interesting is what this book says might still be coming. So let's start.
I want to now share with you some of the insights that these guys had way back in the mid-90s. Again, this is a well-connected think tank in D.C. They are funded and engaged with the wealthy corporations, the ruling class, the National Security Agency. And in 1997, they published this book, creatively titled 2025. And check this out. In the acknowledgments we read, our first thank you is to the sponsors, the people, and the organizations who made possible the original Project 2025 from which this book was created. What did they call it? It was called Project 2025. This book was published in 1997.
The project itself was led by futurist James Canton, an advisor in technology, national security, and economic forecasting. But what really raises eyebrows is the acknowledgments section in the book, because the authors openly thank the organizations that help fund the original research behind it. Large corporations, technology companies, defense contractors, policy institutions. The kind of organizations that don't just observe trends, but often influence the direction of technology and policy. So the question becomes, were these simply educated guesses? Or were they looking at plans already being discussed behind closed doors? Either way, let's take a look at what they predicted.
10 things to expect if this Project 2025 from the mid-90s turns out to be correct about the remaining items that have not yet transpired. And before I list them, I want to remind us, these are not just, throw in a bunch of stuff at the wall and see what sticks. I mean, it's like 90% track record here. But, and they may not be right about all these either, but here we go.
Now brace yourselves, because if what you're about to hear ever becomes reality, things could get very ugly. Let's hope they got this part wrong. But listen to this.
They said we will have World War III, a nuclear device causing widespread contamination, additional cyber attacks, or in their world, computer-based socially significant crime, such.
Guys, real quick, the scary part about number 2, and again, I'm not saying this is going to happen. We are just diving into these theories. You got to kind of think about when the power grid is at its max and we can't no longer handle data centers. It's a possibility that they might be going nuclear or using uranium to power these data centers. I believe in Taiwan, NVIDIA is trying to open up their nuclear center. Let's look it up real quick so you guys know I'm not just pulling this out of thin air.
Back in 1997, a group of futurists funded by
There's no way you can move away from Taiwan Semi anytime in the near future. When you think about iPhones, the core processor of every iPhone comes out of Taiwan Semi. Every AMD chip, so a lot of our server chips, a lot of our PC chips, they all come out of Taiwan Semi. NVIDIA, so all their AI chips are fabbed at Taiwan Semi. You can go down the list, Qualcomm, every smartphone modem. And so, no, we can't live without Taiwan Semiconductor. And when you think about how much money Taiwan Semi has been spending on equipment, 30, 40 billion a year in terms of CapEx. You can't replace it even if you can duplicate their technology. And so Taiwan Semi is not going anywhere anytime soon.
Taiwan is the epicenter of the AI revolution. This is where the chips come, packaging comes. This is where the systems are made. This is where AI supercomputers were created. The number of partners we work with here in Taiwan, incredible.
Okay, but what about this Taiwan nuclear center?
Big news out of Taiwan this morning. The country may save its nuclear power plants. Taiwan's 3 nuclear power plants that operated from the 1980s until the beginning of the 2020s helped to power its industrial rise and created the semiconductor industry that we all know it for today. There was a 4th one under construction in the early 2010s. But then the Democratic Progressive Party, currently the ruling party in government, came to power and were very anti-nuclear and started shutting down the existing nuclear plants and canceled the Lungmen plant that you see there in the north by Taipei. This is former President Tsai Ing-wen. She was the president up until earlier this year and was very anti-nuclear. Her party had been anti-nuclear since its founding in the 1980s and sort of continued with that politics for a long time. But it was after the Fukushima disaster in March 2011 in Japan that they really adopted a firm stance of phasing out all of the existing nuclear plants in Taiwan. So you may be wondering, why does this matter? Well, unless you've been living under a rock, then you should know that Taiwan is pretty central to the geopolitical conflicts that we see right now between the United States and China. And by making itself more vulnerable to Chinese blockade by becoming very dependent on imported natural gas, which has to be brought in by barges basically every week, and which they have a very limited storage capacity to keep on site, they are making it very possible for China to essentially cause mass blackouts and cripple the semiconductor industry there without even invading the island. This is not a theoretical concern. If you look at this article from August of 2022 in the shipping trade publication G Captain, you'll see that there were gas suppliers rerouting away from Taiwan or reducing their speeds on their way to Taiwan right after the Chinese started Taiwan Strait in response to then U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's controversial visit to the island.
Taiwan just shut down its last nuclear reactor.
This is how Taiwan is getting ready for war.
You can see behind me, the streets are pretty much empty.
And yesterday afternoon, it was an annual air raid drill. People also receive.
Taiwan is the epicenter of the AI revolution. This is where the chips come, packaging comes. This is where the systems are made. This is where AI supercomputers were created. The number of partners we work with here in Taiwan, incredible.
Okay, but what about this Taiwan Nuclear Center?
Big news out of Taiwan this morning. The country may save its nuclear power plants. Taiwan's 3 nuclear power plants that operated from the 1980s until the beginning of the 2020s helped to power its industrial rise and created the semiconductor industry that we all know it for today. There was a 4th one under construction in the early 2010s. But then the Democratic Progressive Party, currently the ruling party in government, came to power and were very anti-nuclear and started shutting down the existing nuclear plants and canceled the Lungmen plant that you see there in the north by Taipei. This is former President Tsai Ing-wen. She was the president up until earlier this year and was very anti-nuclear. Her party had been anti-nuclear since its founding in the 1980s and sort of continued with that politics for a long time. But it was after the Fukushima disaster in March 2011 in Japan that they really adopted a firm stance of phasing out all of the existing nuclear plants in Taiwan. So you may be wondering, why does this matter? Well, unless you've been living under a rock, then you should know that Taiwan is pretty central to the geopolitical conflicts that we see right now between the United States and China. And by making itself more vulnerable to Chinese blockade by becoming very dependent on imported natural gas, which has to be brought in by barges basically every week, and which they have a very limited storage capacity to keep on site, they are making it very possible for China to essentially cause mass blackouts and cripple the semiconductor industry there without even invading the island. This is not a theoretical concern. If you look at this article from August of 2022 in the shipping trade publication G Captain, you'll see that there were gas suppliers rerouting away from Taiwan or reducing their speeds on their way to Taiwan right after the Chinese started Taiwan Strait in response to then U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's controversial visit to the island.
Taiwan just shut down its last nuclear reactor. This is how Taiwan is getting ready for war.
You can see behind me, the streets are pretty much empty.
Yesterday afternoon, it was the annual air raid drill. People also receive
Hang in there, y'all.
also a infrastructure on their phone, and after that people are directed into shelters because no one is allowed to stay outdoors.
But what was new was this internet disruption exercise.
敬请大家能够谅解，也敬请大家能够支持，因为这个是一个必要的演习。
觉得可能如果真的是打仗的话，可能真的就像这样是完全没有网络的。
没有想到那么那么真实。
It comes amid this concern that the underwater cables that provide Taiwan with its internet are vulnerable.
These kinds of drills, they are an apparent effort to respond to the increasing military threat from China.
So this is going to gloss over a lot of history, but that's because the government of Beijing basically see Taiwan as part of its own territory, rather than a self-run democratic island. And they haven't ruled out using force to annex it.
It has stepped up military presence and economic coercion in recent years.
We have seen these cables damaged or severed in incidents that involved Chinese or China-linked vessels.
There were a couple of cases that damaged the cables between the main island and also Mazu, a group of islands administered by Taiwan. And also in 2025, there was a Chinese captain who was officially convicted by the Chinese officials of damaging an undersea cable linking also the main island of Taiwan.
That's how we get our internet. All these underwater cables. I didn't know Taiwan and China was beefing like that, but it makes sense.
To Penghu.
Taiwan's Coast Guard call it the gray zone strategy.
During peace times, it's a way to wear Taiwan down and to make Taiwan feel like China is getting closer and closer.
But for most people, drills like this are still feeling pretty standard.
Although the government is trying to make a war scenario or a conflict scenario slightly more real this time, because it's like including this like internet slowdown scenario for the first time, right? But then I think the majority, they don't really see this as an escalation of a war possibility.
This is how Taiwan is.
Damn. So when we're watching this other one, they're talking about WW3. Man. It could be about nuclear, guys. Could it be over nuclear? Because like they said, you know, Taiwan's relying on this natural gas that's coming from all these vessels. That's how they're getting most of their power done, by the looks of it. Don't quote me, but that's just the information I'm gathering from those couple videos we watched. So it's kind of adding up a little bit here. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's finish this project 2025. This is going to be another long one.
Is tampering with air traffic control or national security systems. A global currency, mass starvation. Now that in and of itself, that's pretty heavy that we just considered. But given again the track record and how the things that they're announcing here, you also hear announced by the likes of Bill Gates and Klaus Schwab and Jesuit Tide. We're going to see some pretty interesting stuff as we go forward, but we're just on Project 2025 from the 90s right now. Let's look first at the mass starvation. I was mentioning Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum, WEF. He stated, we're going to have an angrier world. In the context of food and energy scarcity, we are going to have an angrier world. Those are his words. And so when he talks about an angrier world, and in the same interview, Klaus says that this angrier world will be because of economic conditions, and that's why I see the need for a great reset. In fact, roll that clip right now, please.
We have to prepare for a more angry world, and I see the need for action. I see the need for a great reset.
Are you kidding me? I've never heard someone say we needed a reset. That is the first time.
Conditions, and that's why I see the need for a great reset. In fact, roll that clip right now, please.
We have to prepare for a more angry world, and I see the need for action. I see the need for a great reset.
Wow.
When you start looking around today, some of these ideas don't feel as far away as they once did. Conversations about global crisis, food shortages, cyber warfare, they're no longer just theory. The World Economic Forum often discusses scenarios involving systemic shocks, digital infrastructure attacks, and the need for a reset of the global system. You hear similar language from government reports, economic forums, and international policy meetings. The idea that a large cyber attack could disrupt entire countries, or that supply chains could collapse and trigger food shortages, is something even officials now discuss publicly. And when you see these same themes appearing again and again, it makes you wonder, were these futurists simply connecting the dots ahead of time? Or were they closer to the people drawing the map in the first place?
There is a Obama-produced film, a movie, that came out called Leave the World Behind. Why did the Obamas get behind this film? The film, I won't be able to tell you that, but I can tell you what the film is about. It's about an apocalyptic scenario after the grid fails and there's a grid down crisis because of cyber attacks. And this comes out, again, right before 2025.
What was that movie called? Leave the World Behind. It's got a 6.4 out of 10, but man, it sounds like it's been going, it's based on what we've been talking about these last couple of days. I wonder if they talk about the data centers on the uprise and them possibly hitting a couple transformers to bring the grid down. I'm not sure. But if they mention that, that would be wild.
Scenario after the grid fails and there's a grid down crisis because of cyber attacks. And this comes out, again, right before 2025. And then you go back to 2014 with the release of a video game, which also has scripts like movies do. And this Black Ops 2, major prominent video game, the script writers for it were consulting with that the Wall Street Journal calls the premier futurist in the national security space. So the top Pentagon futurist was consulting.
They brought Black Ops into this? That's wild. I was playing that Call of Duty 4 beta last night.
Consulted for the script on this video game. And what is the script for the video game? Well, the object of the game is to prevent a cyber attack in the context of a new Cold War with China. And guess what year this video game is set? Again, this came out in 2014, and the video game is set in 2025. So we're starting to see kind of a pattern here, are we not?
But isn't it a little strange, that film produced by the Obamas? I mean, why that topic? And why now? And why do we keep hearing about these kinds of scenarios more and more often? Every now and then, authorities even suggest that people keep some emergency cash at home, enough for about 72 hours, just in case ATMs or payment systems suddenly stop working. So you start to wonder, what's really going on here? Maybe it's all just coincidence. I don't know.
We look at World War III, and we look at their predictions that a nuclear device causing widespread contamination will take place. This might sound outlandish, but keep in mind that since 1945, with the invention and using of the first atomic bomb, there have been, in Cold War history, 16 near-miss nuclear events. And historians and national security experts estimate that about 1%, you have about a 1% chance in any given year of having a nuclear exchange. A 1% chance, then over a 100-year period of time, you'd expect it once. If you get halfway through that, you feel like, we're living on borrowed time. Well, we're like 80% of the way through a 100-year period of time since 1945. So it's hard to expect the unexpected. It's hard to foresee that which our normalcy bias doesn't allow us to see as potentials. We lose imagination because we see only the thing immediately in front of us. But this is something that the Project 2025 futurists are saying to expect. And again, we see war, epidemics, starvation. Let's do it in the proper order from the Bible again. War, starvation, epidemics. Those are three of them.
He brought Revelation 6:7 into this. Chapter 6, verses 7 through 8.
The 6 that are up there from that pale horse.
All right, let's reel it in. Let's reel in all this information. Oh, they're saying a nuclear exchange is why the contamination. I don't think that's going to happen. I think that they're going to try and use nuclear for a energy source. Like, that's what they're going to say. It's not going to be a nuclear exchange between countries. If anything, they're going to try and use the nuclear power for uranium. And that might get contaminated somehow because they're trying to power these data centers off of nuclear power, is my theory. And to reel it in some more with Taiwan, basically Taiwan's grid, they're making all this technical upgrades, but their infrastructure probably can't handle it, is the second theory. So they might be trying to turn on nuclear. So it gets interesting, especially looking at China and Taiwan, and they're talking about WW3. Man, this is pure madness. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I did not intend to go this deep today. I should be like everybody else. Throw a couple damn celebrity theories up and keep it pushing, but no. I'm going to edit that part out. I ain't going to. No, I'm going to let it ride. Day 12. It's not funny, man. It's not funny. But this dude got baby backs, hot dogs, and a Jack's pizza. I know Jack's. That is a Jack's. Sausage and pep. You literally got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different meats on the grill. Look at his socks. You couldn't have pulled your socks up? This is embarrassing.
Hey man, y'all see what's going on, man. Part 2 in this pop out. Hey man, y'all see what's going on, man. Part 2 in this pop out.
Somebody call OSHA.
Hate to be the bearer of bad news, but you're probably going to see a lot of mass blackouts in the future all over the country because the infrastructure in a lot of these areas is old. Climate change is making the weather more extreme. You got electricity skyrocketing because of all of the artificial intelligence data centers and electric vehicles that are going to be, created. So it's going to be bad. And, when it comes to like cyber attacks, other countries, a lot of experts say that, they could hit those grids.
Yeah, those grids and power plants. But like you said, the sad thing about it is a lot of the infrastructure was already bad, right? You look at the same areas that keep getting flooded over and over and over again. It's been 10 years and the same areas being flooded. We keep getting the same blackout. So like Charlamagne said, it's going to get worse.
And it's just a lack of investment in the things that are important. Like, we know that the infrastructure needed to be updated. We haven't done what we need to do in regards to climate change. So a lot of these things are problems of our own making. Hate to be.
People are starting to wake up. Get you some solar panels. Learn how to start canning. Check on your loved ones. Make sure all your elders in your family are taken care of. Don't leave them hanging. But at least communicate so we can barter and trade. You're growing honey over here. You're cultivating honey. You got 5 honey boxes over here. I got some apple trees over here. You may have some pickles. We got to trade. Barter. That's what I mean by tribe up. We each utilize our best tools. And so what? If it leads to a community, so be it. If we all going on some land, make our own little Dark Waters 9 community, then so be it. We'll be thriving there, to say the least. I can see it now. We'll have an airship in like a year. We'll have an airship in like a year, y'all. They gave us a community. We'll have an airship. We'll be conducting ether out the ionosphere. Man, they better stop playing with us. Let's get to this specimen. This is already an hour long. I gotta chop this up. Man. Talk to me, y'all. But stop backseat driving. If you just watching this, that's crazy, man. Participate. Jump in the comments. What are your thoughts on all this? Am I crazy? No, I'm not. If you thought I wasn't going to hit you with another excellent specimen of the day, think again, bucko. Jason. Ooh, this is extraordinary. I love this one. This is a nice one. Richly colored, incredible contrast, and flawless. This one checks all the boxes. I love it. I have no idea what this is, but I love it. This crystallized specimen, look at the velvet blue columns protruding out, and then you got that dark green bark in the middle, dark green jaded bark with the velvet sky blue columns protruding out. This is a good one, y'all. The rating I'm gonna give, if you're new around here, I do specimens every day at the end of the video, and we rate these 1 through 10 and we give it a name. The rating I'm gonna give this is a 9.4 based on the aesthetics, color, originality. And the name I'm gonna give this is the Kraken's Eye. What'd I say? 9.4? 9.4 Kraken's Eye. I want to hear your name for this specific specimen, your rating, and drop it in the comments below. Phew! That was a long one. If you made it this far, go ahead and drop the code word in the comments below. The code word for today is Project 2025. When you drop Project 2025 in the comments below, that lets me know you're a real one. You made it all the way to the end of the video and you really rock with your boy. And I just want to say thank you. I love you guys from the bottom of my heart. I'm doubling up on you today. Yeah, this was a long one, but I'm still doubling up on you today. Head over to Jet Ski Chuck later on this afternoon for a longer, more in-depth video. And I can't wait to see you guys later. And take care. Have a good one.